As someone who likes tech and watches, getting on board with the smartwatch trend has been extremely hard for a bunch of different reasons actually, but number one being looks. Smartwatches in general don't really look like watches. They usually have this sort of sleek and sporty design to them, which is hard to dress up and honestly just isn't really my style. But nowadays you do get more smartwatches that look like watches, and this is one of them. This is the Huawei Watch GT4, and this has actually become my daily watch. So let's take a look at it. This is the new Huawei Watch GT4, and this year Huawei had a few key features that they wanted to address, with one of them being design. So when I was at the Huawei Watch launch, they had this entire section on design and how they actually wanted to make these watches look like designer watches, and honestly for me, they actually nailed it. The Watch GT4 comes in two different designs as well as a few different colors for each of them, and the one I have here is the 46mm one in green, which is also the eco-friendly version and is also my favorite out of the bunch. But there's also the brown and black version of the 46mm as well, and then you also have this light gold or black version of the 41mm watch. The attention to detail for me is amazing. They do have this sort of geometric design to them. The crown at the top right that even has the name engraved on the side of it. Then you have a single button at the bottom right that is set to workouts by default, so I just sort of kept it that way, as it's really easy to then access your workouts if you need to go out for a run or if you're doing weights or whatever it is that you're doing. With the green version, you also have the internal ring with this half green, half white design that matches the standard watch face perfectly, and the half fabric, half leather strap for me is really comfortable to wear throughout the entire day. Plus, because it's the rubber on the inside, it's really easy to work out with, and it doesn't really damage the strap, all of that, or it doesn't feel uncomfortable when you're using it for extended periods of time. Overall, Huawei really nailed the look and the design of these watches for me, as it's really easy to wear these to events, weddings, or occasions where you're dressing up slightly without it taking away from your look, but rather adding to the look and making it look like you're actually wearing a designer watch. Another problem that I have with smartwatches is the battery, and the watch that I had before I really gave smartwatches a try was my Fossil mechanical watch, and the reason I actually chose a mechanical watch was the fact that it doesn't actually need a battery to run, and well, smartwatches do. And most of them sort of just last a day or two, and if you forget to charge them, it means that they can actually die on you when you need them the most, which happened to me quite a few times with my Galaxy Watch 5, where I forgot to charge it like a day or two, and then as soon as you get to the gym to start tracking your workouts, then the battery is dead, meaning you can't actually track that workout. Now, in terms of battery life of the Huawei Watch GT4, they do claim that it should last up to 14 days. So of course that means if you're sort of using it in a light use case, and I know that sounds absurd compared to other smartwatches, but I can say that definitely from using this watch for about 2-3 weeks now, that the battery for me in my use case drains anywhere from like 10 to 15% a day. And this is with me going for walks, maybe going for a run, maybe doing a workout here and there. So also using like GPS functionality, the workout trackers. I use it to reply to messages. I even sometimes answer calls with this. So this is sort of I would say a more medium to heavy use case. And then it does like 10 to 15%. So in my use case, it still should be able to last like 7 to 10 days, which is really good. So compared to other smartwatches that I've tried, other smartwatches that I've seen, this one is actually really good. Another thing that I loved about the Huawei Watch GT4 is the fact that it works with iOS and Android as well, meaning that you don't actually need a Huawei phone to use this watch, as you can simply download the Huawei Health app on your Android or iOS device, connect it, pair it, and it works completely on that way, which for me is a really good step in the right direction for Huawei, meaning if this is sort of the smartwatch that you want or need, then regardless of whatever device you're using, you can simply just buy this and use it on that, and it works as easy as that. Plus, it matches my Samsung Galaxy S23 really perfectly, so I guess it is actually meant to be. But this also leads me to my sort of first drawback from the Huawei Watch GT4, and that is that the Huawei Health app isn't supported by all of the other apps that you might find on your Android or iOS device. So for example, for me, I use FitVault, which I track my daily steps with or my workouts with. So with my medical aid, I need to get either 300 calories or 10,000 steps daily for them to track it as an active day. So with Samsung Health app, you just easily track that with your smartwatch, and then it goes into that. You go into the FitVault app, you sync it, it works, everything is fine. But now the Huawei Health app actually doesn't work with FitVault, so there's no way for me to track my steps on the watch and then sync it via the phone. So I still need to sort of either track my workouts manually, or I just have to sort of forget about it and, you know, just make peace with the fact that that day I might not get an active day. But that is also something that might not bother you. If you're just wanting a watch that you can use to keep track of all of your daily workouts and sort of keep it for yourself, then this is going to be 100% fine. But let's actually go into some of the features and how I use this watch on a day-to-day basis. So the tech in the Watch GT4 also overall got better according to Huawei, so all of the sensors and everything else, but they did however claim that the GPS this year is more accurate than even their closest competitor. So I did test it out against my Galaxy Watch 5, and in this area where I am, there's not a lot of like buildings to sort of interfere with the signal, but there are a lot of trees. But here are the results of the Watch 5 and the GT4 compared to each other. Now for me, they are fairly similar, but I can see how this could potentially become a problem if you're living in a big city where you have a lot of like high-rise buildings that could potentially interfere with signal. But for me here in South Africa, that might actually not be a problem, but it is good to have a device that has really accurate GPS tracking. Now you can also add songs to your watch so that even if you're going for runs, you can simply connect your earphones to the watch, and then you don't need to take your phone with you to listen to music while you work out. Then you also have AI coaches that can set up different workout plans for you, whether you just want to do basic workouts or you want a coach to get you ready for that marathon that you want to run at the end of the year or next year or whenever it is that you actually want to do that. Another feature that I actually liked about this watch is the fact that you can go into the health app and then put in all your measurements, your heights, all of that, and then tell it whether or not you want to gain or lose weight. And then the watch will actually keep track of how many calories you burn and tell you how many you need to burn in comparison to how much you've eaten the day, etc., to keep yourself either in that calorie range that you need to be to gain or lose weight. And it will sort of remind you every day and the next day on whether or not you reached your goal yesterday or if you need to work harder today, which is sort of a good thing, especially for people who are on this sort of weight loss journey, to have this sort of companion with you in it that's just keeping you updated on everything that you need to do and how to do it, which in my opinion is a really great feature. And then of course you also have those health rings that you get on all smartwatches these days, where you input your goals and how long you want to stand, move, and how many steps you want to get throughout the day. And then as you're sort of going throughout the day, you'll sort of fill up these rings. So if you're someone that likes to fill out the rings and sort of have the gameplay aspect, you know, you also have that on this device as well, which is really good. And then the Watch GT4 also has all the other functionalities that you might want out of your smartwatch, like the ability to track your sleep, SpO2 levels, stress, and even skin temperature to give you a broad overview of your health throughout the day and as long as you're wearing the watch. Now when it comes to general day-to-day tasks as well, I have to say that I really enjoyed the watch for that too. You have the ability to choose which notifications come through on the watch, which I love because I don't necessarily want all of them to show up on my watch. So I can choose the ones that are really important to show up on my watch, which means that if it is actually vibrating on my wrist, it means that it's probably something that I need to look at. And then of course you can also add quick replies to easily reply to messages or WhatsApp messages really easily by scrolling through and then clicking on the message you want to send. And you can even answer calls directly with the watch for those cases where your phone might be charging in the other side of the room, or your phone just isn't near you and it is an important call. Then you can simply just answer on your watch. It will play through the loudspeaker on the watch itself, and you can just sort of have that conversation on your watch without needing to have your phone with you. But it still needs to be connected, so it still needs to be close to you. Overall, the Huawei Watch GT4 ticks a lot of the boxes for me. It looks good, it works really well, and it has all of the features that you would want and need out of your smartwatch. Now, of course, there are a few issues that are sort of catered to me but could be catered to you as well. There are a bunch that could of course not be good for you, But one of them for me, of course, being the Huawei Health app that doesn't connect with the apps that I needed to connect with, but because I can still manually track workouts via the Samsung Health app on my phone, it doesn't really affect me that much. And then of course, there's also the fact that the screen is sort of really flush with the sides of the watch, meaning that if you sort of bump this into something, you could potentially easily crack this screen, which I know a bunch of people struggle with, especially while working out. You may have weights that sort of bump into that. So if you're someone that easily breaks smartwatches, then you could potentially easily break this one as well. And you might want to look for one that either has the ability to add sort of a screen protector, or you need to get yourself a watch that isn't flush with the sort of casing, as that can help you protect your watch a little bit better from those sort of accidental nicks on sides of walls or on gates or whatever it is that you may nick your watch on. But other than that, the battery life is really good. You can easily see what you're doing even if you're outside. The screen is sort of bright enough for that. The watch looks good, and most importantly, it works on my Samsung Galaxy device. So what more can I ask for? And then, as always, until next time, cheers.